My beloved, greetings. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Georgina, or Jo for short. Call me whatever you feel like. And today we will be discussing the gods of Egypt. I have always been obsessed by ancient Egypt. The entire culture, hieroglyphs, pyramids, pharaohs, their gods, everything. These people have me grasped by mythological sphericals. Do with that information as you will. I am also very much unemployed. That's why I have a lot of time to do these things, I can learn the entire language and then come and teach you. In this video, we're going to be discussing a few major gods, including the Great Ennead, Ra and his offsprings. And I say offsprings very loosely because the family dynamics, I just want to make it very clear. The family dynamics was so confusing. So the most accurate thing that you'll get out of this video is the roles of the god. As for who was sleeping with who and gave birth to who, some of them probably even gave birth to themselves, and I am not joking. That is not an exaggeration. That is how I feel this entire thing went. It started as, oh, I can just make a family tree. No. It became weird. So weird. So weird. We're also going to be discussing some of the gods associated with the Nile and a few honorable mentions that I thought would be cool to add in here. Because one of my favorite god is not part of these families and I have to include him. So buckle up, get some snacks, and let us disembark on the journey into the world of the gods of ancient Egypt. The Great Ennead consisted of the 9 gods worshipped at Heliopolis, starting with the primordial god of ancient Egypt, Atum. Atum was a self-created god. He is believed to have risen from the dark waters of the Nile, where he had molded himself while sitting on the Benben. The Benben is the first piece of land believed to have risen from the dark waters of Nile. Other accounts suggest that he may have existed as an egg inside the waters, but then was hatched during the primordial flood. And then we have the Memphites, who believed that he was created intellectually by the lord Ptah. Ptah was a god who created the universe using his thoughts and word of mouth. Hence, this account has been recorded in the Shabaka stone. But that will beat the self-made propaganda, and that is the propaganda I want to fall for. Let him be self-made. You don't need to. Okay, now that you say that Ptah made Amun, then who made Ptah? Did he create himself with his thoughts and words? If he created himself with his thoughts and words, who created his thoughts and words for him? Let's not. Okay, so now I would like to start confusing you. There were 2 other gods believed to have existed during that time with Atum, but not created by Atum. We have Khepri and we have Ra. I'm going to discuss Khepri now, but you're going to discuss Ra as the video progresses. Be ready to get confused. Khepri was a self-created god depicted as a scarab beetle, or a man with the head of a scarab beetle. Scarab beetles Fuck the Nyambu dude. Scary beetles was seen emerging from balls of dung, hence why he was associated with creation by the ancient Egyptians. The name Khepri translates to he who has come into being. He was thought to roll the sun across the sky as scary beetles would roll the balls of dung across the land. Then enters Ra, who was the supreme sun god, who, like I said before, we're going to be discussing later. The association among these three gods was that Khepri was the morning sun, and then Ra was the midday sun, and then Atum was the evening sun. Hence why they needed to be included to this specific part of the video. Also there's a part where there's something that I read somewhere that Atum was also believed to have entered this world in the form of Khepri, meaning that he emerged from the ball of dung, but that's just a myth. We are going to stick with the part where he came from the primordial waters of Nun or Nun or whatever you want to pronounce it as. In another myth, it's believed that Atum's offsprings got lost in the dark waters, so he needed the eye of Ra to go and look for his babies. And yes, he did find them, and they were reunited, and then they became a big happy family. Okay, so now back to the Great Ennead. Atum created the gods Shu and Tefnut. Shu was the god of dry air and sunlight. Shu was not a solar deity, I just want to make that clear, but was associated with Ra through sunlight. He is depicted as a man wearing a headdress with a plume on it. He is also depicted holding up Nut to separate the earth and the skies. Tefnut was the goddess of moisture, where she's depicted in the pyramid text producing water. So unlike her husband represented the dry air and she represented the moist air. She's depicted as a lioness or a woman with the head of a lioness. She and Tefnut went on to have Nut and Geb. Nut was the goddess of the sky, where she's depicted as a woman with an elongated body, each of her limbs representing the cardinal points. In the evening, Nut would swallow Ra and then bath him in the morning. Such an interesting way to describe the sunset and the sunrise. Geb was the husband to Nut and the god of the earth. His laughter is believed to have caused earthquakes. His laughter. According to the pyramid text, he is said to have imprisoned the dead within his body. Like, I get what you're trying to say, but why say it like that though? Geb was actually a god without a cult, unlike many of his counterparts, but he was still honored. The offsprings of Geb and Nut were Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. I hope that I'm pronouncing that well. This is where the family dynamics move from poise, dainty, demure, nobody knows our business, to straight up keeping up with the Kardashians. Osiris was the vegetation god, the first mythological king of Egypt, believed to have brought civilization onto mankind. Isis, his darling wife, was associated with funeral sites in terms of resurrection, giving back life, while their sister Nephthys was also associated with funeral sites in terms of mourning and protecting the dead. Their brother Seth and husband to Nephthys was the god of darkness, chaos, confusion. He was depicted as a man with an unknown animal head. You know, the thing about incest, Seth killed his brother, took over the throne, leaving Isis with the dismembered body parts of her husband. Now you may be thinking, Seth did this out of jealousy. He was probably just jealous of Osiris's kingship, right? Right? Yes. You're right. If you're following the normal myth, then you're correct. But if you dig deeper, like I did, this is like a myth inside a myth. It's just something that I read, and I've read it multiple places, and now it's in my head rent free, and now I'm here to traumatize you with it. So basically, Seth was a piece of shit husband to Nephthys, and Nephthys wanted to have a baby, Either he could not give her a baby, or he was a piece of shit husband and she still wanted to be a mom. So what Nephthys did, she seduced Osiris into sleeping with her. Now, how was she able to pull this off? She did that by convincing Osiris that she was in fact Isis. And considering the family tree and how we have seen people producing, the genetics were very pure, so there's a very high possibility that they looked very much alike, hence making them easily mistakable amongst each other, betweenst each other. So then Nephthys slept with Osiris, and which led to the conception of Anubis. I thought that it was like, I just thought that I would traumatize you with that information. So if you use this law, you may say that Seth killed his brother because of this entire thing. But if you're just following like the normal law, Seth killed his brother. Excusez-moi. Seth killed his brother because he was a piece of shit human, piece of shit god. Isis is believed to have made the first mummy. This is with the assistance of Nephthys, who helped in locating the dismembered body parts of Osiris. Isis resurrected Osiris, and with him she conceived Horus. She was depicted as a woman with a throne on her head, or a woman breastfeeding the infant Horus. The cult of Isis spread throughout the Mediterranean world and Northern Europe during the Roman period, and there's even a temple dedicated to her in London. As Isis was seen as the giver of life, so was Nephthys seen as death itself. She was depicted as a woman with a headdress in the shape of a palace and a neb on her head. The literal translation of Nephthys is Lady of the House or Temple. She and her sister Isis were considered the protectors of the dead, where they're depicted in coffins with winged arms. After Osiris's resurrection, he became the ruler of the underworld. He is depicted as a mummy holding the crook and flail of kingship. He wears the white crown of Upper Egypt with 2 plumes of feathers, exchangeably with horns of ram at times. His skin varies from blue, the color of the dead, black for fertile land, and green to symbolize resurrection. His main cult center was in Abydos, where his head was believed to have been buried. Seth was defeated by Osiris' son Horus and lost his throne. Even after his defeat, he is still believed to have been following around Ra and causing storms and bad weather. This man was never going anywhere. Kinda reminds me of a certain god of chaos that I'm familiar with. You probably will know him too. Horus was depicted as a hawk, or a man with the head of a hawk, or a youth with the side locks seated on his mother's lap. He was the god of the sky, protector of kings, and the king of Egypt after he defeated Seth. His main cult center was in Nakada. He was worshipped throughout Egypt, with his main temple being in Edfu. Anubis, son of Seth and Nephthys, was said to have been the protector of the dead. He was said to conduct the dead into the hall of judgment. Big booty Latin, turn to your right and walk straight towards me, and do not stop until you reach me. He was depicted as a jackal, or a man with the head of a jackal, with his main cult center being in Sinopolis. Now on to Ra and his offsprings. And I use the word offsprings very loosely over here. Very loosely. Ra, the supreme sun god, was depicted as a man with the head of a hawk, crowned with the solar disk and the sacred serpent, or a ram-headed man as he passed the underworld every single night. Each day he would sail across the sky in his solar boat, and then at night he would fight his enemies in the underworld, and then waited every morning to come out of Nut's vagina. Ra was one, what do you call them? Influencer among the gods. They didn't know whether they wanted to be him or be with him. Amun and Ra became Amun-Ra. Montu and Ra became Ontu-Ra. Knum and Ra became Knum-Ra. Horus and Ra became Horus-Ra. You have no shame. Ra Horakti. Horus-Ra. Who taught you that? Who taught you that? Who mentioned anything about Horus-Ra in this conversation? Egyptian kings would call themselves sons of Ra, claiming to be his descendants. But egocentric, bro. The most prosperous time of his cult was during the Old Kingdom, where sun temples were built in his honor. His main cult center was in Heliopolis. Hathor, daughter of Ra and wife to Horus, and no, I am not putting a woman's relationship with her father and her husband before her career. I would never. We just need this for the storyline. I promise. I fucking swear. I swear. Hathor, whose name translates to House of Horus, was the patron goddess of women, representing beauty, love, pleasure, musika. She was depicted as a cow, or a woman with cow ears, or a woman with the headdress of cow's horns with a solar disk in between the horns. She was said to visit Horus at the temple in Edfu, where they would celebrate the feast of divine union. Now on to the fuckery. This was not supposed to be a heartwarming story, nah. No. No, how dare this be a heartwarming story? Hathor, in the form of Sekhmet, who we will discuss at the end of the video, was initially sent by Ra to punish humanity for its wickedness. But when Sekhmet, aka Hathor, arrived, she did too much. She wreaked so much havoc that her father was like, hey, you didn't need to do all that, you know, like just a little bit of punishment, but she a lot. Knowing her mother was driven by thirst. How did he know this? I do not know. But he's the daddy, so he probably knows something. He made a mixture of beer, mandarin, and the blood of her victims. She then drank the mixture and got too intoxicated that she could no longer continue with her killing spree. He basically spiked his own daughter's drink. It's messed up. Anyway, her most famous temple is at Dendara. I have a migraine, and in my brain, I consider a migraine being caused by heat regardless of whether it's freezing cold outside or not. So I'm trying to cool myself so that the migraine might not end me. Mut, sister to Hathor, was a vulture goddess.
I would like to correct myself over here. So Mut was not a vulture goddess. She was associated with the vulture goddess Nekhmet. This is due to her wearing the vulture headdress. She is actually a goddess mother.
And a third of the Theban triad. The Theban triad consisted of 3 gods who were famous in Thebes. This consisted of Mut, her husband Amun, and Khonsu, their son. Mut was depicted as a woman with a long, brightly colored dress, with the vulture headdress mounted by a double crown. A double crown was used to represent Upper and Lower Egypt. The white part represented The white part represented Upper Egypt and the red part represented Lower Egypt. Her role was as a divine mother to the king, with her amulet depicted as a seated woman suckling a child, commonly mistook with the amulet of Isis. Amun was the patron of the Theban gods, whose influence grew as Thebes grew from a village in the Old Kingdom into a metropolis in the Middle and the New Kingdom. Combined with Ra, he became Amun-Ra, the king of gods and the ruler of the Great Ennead. Amun, whose name directly translates to Hidden One, his true form remained unknown. He was depicted as a man with a double plume crown, a ram, a goose, nothing definitive. I was not going to go through all that effort and just draw all of it. His identity remained unknown. Perfect. Less work for me. Yes, I do draw these things by myself. And when I find a shortcut, I will take it. His cult spread throughout Egypt, Ethiopia, Nubia, Libya, Palestine, and even the Greeks say that he was the Egyptian manifestation of Zeus. Big man. His influence was so large that he was consulted by popular figures like Alexander the Great. Video coming up soon. His main temple was located in Karnak. Khonsu, the son of Amun and Mut, was a moon god. He was depicted as a man with a falcon head, wearing the crescent moon headdress mounted by a full lunar disk. Believed to have the ability to drive out demons, Ramses II sent a statue of Khonsu to a Syrian king to help him cure his daughter's illness. His temple was within the precincts of Karnak. On to the gods associated with the Nile. Khnum was the gods of the cataracts and the creator god, believed to mold human beings from clay and then place them in the wombs of their mothers. He was also believed to protect the source of the Nile. He was depicted as a man with the head of a ram. In the famine still, appeals were directed to Khnum during the period of famine caused by low flooding of the Nile. His best preserved temple is at Esna. Hapi was the god of the flooding of the Nile, believed to have lived in the caves of the first cataract. He is depicted as a pot-bellied man with breasts and a headdress made of aquatic plants. His main cult center was in Aswan. Sobek was the crocodile god, depicted as a man with the head of a crocodile and the headdress of a sand disk with upright feathers and horns. He is also depicted as a crocodile on an altar. His main cult center was in Medinet El Fayum with his temple in Kom Ombo with pools containing crocodiles. Today you can still see the mummified crocodiles at the temple. Now for a few honorable mentions, aka gods that I find really cool. Let's kick things off with Thoth, god of wisdom, knowledge, hieroglyphs, magic, writing, science, basically anything educational. And the moon, so basically my favorite god. He's depicted as a man with the head of a green ibis, holding an ankh and sometimes holding a scribe's pen and palette. He's also depicted as a baboon with a lunar disk crescent headdress. Not only did he act as a scribe for the gods, but also had the important role of documenting the deeds of the dead on the Day of Judgment in the Book of the Dead. Are we clear? His main temple was in Hermopolis. 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 Ma'at was the goddess of truth and justice and also wife to Thoth. which is quite fitting. I mean, that level of responsibility requires some brains. She was also the daughter of Ra and Hathor. Do you see the kind of pain that I am going through for you people to have a nice video? You think normal people put up with incest to this degree? I am doing this all for you. Subscribe. She was depicted as a woman with an ostrich feather on her head or ostrich feathers on her arms. Ma'at was the ultimate judge of the afterlife. She weighed the hearts of the deceased using her single feather of Ma'at. This is why during the mummification process, they would remove all the internal organs but only leave the heart. Side note, by the way, there's a man by the name of Alan Billis who gave up his body for mummification and it was successful. You can check out the entire process on the channel Odyssey on YouTube. Trigger warning, you're going to see a dead body. You're going to see the dead person talking simultaneously as his body is being mummified. But it was for a good cause. The process was successful. He died of cancer, unfortunately, but he was able to get a pharaoh send-off and it was successful and he looks like a mummy completely. So apparently they use sodium bicarbonate and water, which seems like it's counterproductive, especially when you're trying to preserve a body. I think adding water would be the last thing in your mind, but apparently given the results that we had with his body, not me involving myself, given the results that came with his body, it appears that yes, the ancient Egyptians might have actually used water and sodium bicarbonate, and I don't remember the other thing, but you can check the entire video. But I told you, trigger warning, you're going to see a dead body. So if you're not comfortable with dead bodies, zonzo way. So once the heart was weighed, if it was lighter or equal to the feather of Ma'at, the deceased will go on to live a vicious life in Aru. But if your fate was different and your heart was heavy, it was fed to Amit. Amit was a goddess who was referred to as the devourer of the dead, and your soul will be left to roam Duat for eternity. So whimsical. Her temple was located in Karnak, with their viziers acquiring the title Priests of Mat. Montu was a warrior god believed to have been the scorching effect of Ra, hence Montu Ra. The destructive capabilities of the sun at its extreme only solidified his role further as a war god. He was often depicted as a falcon-headed or bull-headed man with a solar disk mounted on his head and either a single or double ureas and 2 feathers. Montu was associated with the Montu-Hotep pharaohs, with the name Montu-Hotep directly translating to Montu is satisfied. His temple, known as Temple of Montu, was located in northeast Karnak. On to our final honorable mention, Sekhmet, who similar to Montu was also a destructive manifestation of Ra. She was a solar deity and daughter of Ra, and in some myths, like I previously mentioned, she is believed to have been the destructive form that Hathor came onto earth and decided to. She is depicted as a woman with the head of a lioness, a sun disk and a ureas on her head. Her main cult center was in Memphis, with her temple being in Karnak. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I hope that you liked it. I hope that you enjoyed it. Leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Send this video to the family group chat, to your ex, because why not? Never be anybody's peace. I hope that you liked my drawings, and the audio has improved. The audio has been sponsored by my mom. If you made it to this part of the video, comment with an apple so that I'll know that you've reached the end of the video. And I'll be seeing you next time. Okay, bye. Mwah.